Welcome to Beyond Profile Traders. Today is Tuesday, the 7th of June, and we have a market that continues to sell off here. We've got a couple of areas down underneath us here that we have to pay close attention to. One of the first ones is this 1274 area. We've got a technical gap fill, which means that when we closed on the 18th of March, we gapped open all the way up to here, right? 89. So it's a big gap. So 74, mark that one off. That's a big area. It's also a naked VPOC on the daily chart here, volume point of control. We actually have another gap here, which is a close at 68.50s, and another gap here at 55 and a quarter. When we begin to look at what's going on here, we're in the fourth day of selling, and what do we have to the left here? Not very much, do we? A lot of the structure that was built on the way back up was just a V pivot, so which means that we could go straight back down to the bottom end of this value area low. 1250 actually on the cash SPX, interesting area. It's a 200-day moving average. And again, if we squint our eyes against this chart just a little bit, you'll notice that we actually have some sort of a potential value area building here, which would be a larger swing area of highs and lows. But if we draw this box around it, you'll see that we have unfair highs, unfair lows. We're auctioning within a value area. And coming back down into these levels here, you'll also note at the beginning of the year, December timeframe, we had a week's worth of value acceptance here. And that's where we were stopped on this move back to the downside here before we ran up to the top side. So the question becomes is this larger area of a balance area that's being created for acceptance up here over the summertime ho-hums, if you will. The first area of focus obviously will be the bottom of this tail, the 80s, okay, 78s, 80s, and then of course the 74 area. So if we come into these areas, we'll be looked to be buyers, because what's happening is we're getting a little cooked to the downside, or I should say undervalued. And at some point, we'll get some sort of a technical bounce here in this market. Now, looking at where all the volume so far has gone off is 1313. All right, that's a big, huge volume node up there. And if we were actually to look at the composite, which we can do here real quick, let me go ahead and composite the last few months of trading here to see what that profile actually looks like. We'll take it back from, let's say, January. So we'll take the last 6 months, if you will, and look at the composite profile here of the S&P. Here you go. This gets us close within a few days here. This is the 18th of January. That'll encompass most of this here. Look at the volume, though. 12s to 13s. Remember, that was the volume node just for this month alone in just this last few days of trading here, 13s. So this 13 area is really a big area. And you can see the profile, how the distribution has been. That's why I'm saying when I take that box and I draw around that box, this territory, when we get down to these lows, is the unfair low. Remember, this was the unfair low for the beginning of the year. This is the unfair high. The majority of volume has gone up at the 13s. We may be in the acceptance of value area here is what I'm trying to say here. Is if we come back down, take care of all these gap fills, all of these naked point of controls, close out this area, get back to the unfair low territory, and begin to bounce back up. Again, it's going to depend on a lot of things here. We've talked about a double dip recession. We're talking about rumors of QE3 starting, and all of these things obviously are going to play into this market when we start looking at the auctioning process. But again, looking at where's the value area low for the last year? I mean, we broke through it today. 1291s. Goodbye. We went below it. So I'm looking at this as saying 1250s ultimately is where we're going to go here and get a retest of these areas, fill in these gaps, take out some of these high volume areas that have not been touched, and then of course at that point we could get a bounce. Now if we get any sort of a bounce back to 1313s here before we get to that level, obviously that's going to be a great sell area when we get to that level, because again you got a breakdown area here. It starts around the 9s, so I would say anywhere here from the 9s to the 13s would be a sell area. When we get into that, that's going to be a pocket of resting supply, and that may be the lower high pivot here too to take us down to the 1250s. Remember, it's just if-then statements. If the market continues to bleed, play it to the short side until you get to some key reference areas where we can look for a long bounce. If it gives you a bounce from here into this area, we can take it long until we get to ultimately to this level to go ahead and look to sell it back down, and then look to see, does the market accept this level, and does enough new demand step in here to cause us to go sideways and then break higher and continue back and put a move back into somewhere up into these levels. All right, that's it for the morning briefing, folks. Have a good trading day, and we'll see you in the room.